So how has the job interview process changed from when I was young? I was young in the late 70s, and that's when I started my work career, so I'm referring to that period. So compared to now, things have changed quite a bit. Let's continue with what I found the biggest differences have been since I was younger and looking for work. Yeah, back when I was young, job interviews were generally a one-person affair. So you interviewed with your manager or someone in HR, which they called personnel back then. So generally it was just a way of finding if you were a good fit for the company. Nowadays, when you actually attend a face-to-face interview, you generally have to face a panel of interviewers. Some might ask technical questions, others might ask you psychological questions. So there's a lot more judging going on now than what there is, whereas before it was just basically searching for someone who was a good fit and who could learn. Repeating the interview process to create a short list of candidates, so it's a lot more complicated and drawn out as it is now. So back then people were more interested in how you got along with other people, and now they're more interested in your skills. So back when I was younger, the dress code was quite a bit different too. So you were expected to generally wear a suit if you worked in an office, even if you were the mail boy. And nowadays it's fairly casual. There is a lot of jobs that still require you to dress nicely, but not like before where pretty much everyone had to wear a jacket and a tie. So case in point, me being a programmer, even in the mid-80s I was already just wearing jeans and t-shirt to my work. So that drastically changed within a decade. So also back when I was young, when you applied for a job, you actually had to hand type your resume on a typewriter because there were no computers back then, and then find a place where you could photocopy it and then go to your interview with a copy of your resume. Generally you would write a letter and handwrite your cover note or cover letter and then attach a photocopy of your resume and then mail that in. And generally it was a few weeks later the prospective new job would contact you back via the phone. So there's also no email back then. So as you can imagine now it's quite different. You apply for a job, it's nearly always online, you can send emails, there's a lot of possible video interview before you're even shortlisted to attend a real interview or a face-to-face interview. So that whole process has become quite more drawn out and more complicated as well. Back from the previous point, you had to type out your resume. So there were no computers, so you couldn't actually print it out. Though that did happen in the mid-80s. When Apple computers and PCs were invented, you were then able to print out your resume. But back when I was younger, no, you had to type it out, and generally everyone had their own typewriter. And I can tell you, typing on a typewriter is 10 times harder than typing on a keyboard because those keys are so stiff. So you got quite strong fingers using one of those, and it was quite annoying to make a mistake. So you had to learn to be fairly good with paper correction fluid as well, or just retype the whole page, which happens sometimes. So as for now, everything's electronic. You can email a resume to somebody. People can Google you, for instance. People might check to see how reputable you are. They might check your social media to see what you're doing on Facebook or Instagram or TikTok or whatever. So there was none of that stuff back then. So with the interview process, employers and employees were both looking for stable long-term jobs. So employers were basically probably number one priority was someone who would stick around for decades. So, and a younger person was also looking for a stable job that they could stay at for quite a while and then move themselves up the ladder. So there isn't the sort of job hopping that we have now where you skip from job to job, where there's no employee loyalty, which I can understand why, because I probably wouldn't do that either anymore. But back then, you were treated a lot better if you were a longer term employee, a lot better actually, and you were respected more. Yep, so those are the differences I found. Let me know if you can think of any more differences, and please like and subscribe.